welcome to this bonus episode of the Popcorn Wind Down, also known as Extra Butter. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy.
Thank you for joining us, where we will be discussing Disney's Cruella, which tells the backstory of the infamous Disney villain Cruella de Vil. The story takes us back to the very beginning, where we meet Cruella's alter ego, 8-year-old Estella, an incredibly smart, mischievous, and talented grifter who rises to the heights of London's fashion scene. Tammy, what did you think of Cruella?
I really enjoyed it. I really, really liked it. I didn't go in with any like high expectations about it. But I am a fan of Emma Stone and Emma Thompson, so I wanted to see like how it would turn out. Um, yeah, it was really good to me. It was really good. Like I was sitting there and I was just like, there was funny moments, there were dramatic moments, there were psychotic moments because she's a little crazy as well. There were moments where you saw how she's gonna turn into who she ultimately becomes in 101 Dalmatians. But yeah, like I ultimately like I really, really enjoyed it. I loved how she got back at the Baroness. So it turned out really, really well.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. And I will say that it is an experience, and I'm glad this was the movie that we chose. You know, everything that you said, but just on a side note for me, it was the first time I went back to the movie since this is my first time in a movie theater in a year and a half, over a year and a half, and um, so I wanted to get the before the big F9, although I think we'll actually end up at the movies again before F9. But I just kind of want to get the anxiety and all that out of the way. And it really wasn't a lot. Once you see how everything is being done at the movies, it's like, oh, okay. But so, and I'm glad it was a good movie to actually go back to go back and watch. But yeah, so I just want to comment on that experience. F9 might be a different thing because it's F9 and it's going to be packed. But back to Cruella. Um, I loved this. I loved it. I loved Emma Stone as Cruella, as a young Cruella or as Estella. Um, I'm still interested to see how she becomes. You get a glimpse, but how does she end up hating Dalmatians so much? Uh, I also went in with very limited expectations, I guess, because I the I don't know. I the live action stories to me, th- I don't ever really have great expectations for them. I guess because I'm not a big cartoon fan, and so I was glad this wasn't a musical. Obviously,
Touche.
I with the exception of what was it, Cinderella, I really do not think that they need to do these as musicals unless it's something that warrants it. But I was glad
Beauty
it
and
was.
the Beast.
Oh yeah, Beauty and the Beast. My bad. That one. That was good. That's the one I was talking about. Cinderella wasn't a musical so much, but I I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the story. I liked seeing how it began, how it all started. We know how she ends up. I honestly think there might be something in the middle just to kind of bring it full circle to where she goes. I don't know, but we can talk about that later. I loved Emma Thompson. She was amazing in her role. Um, just kind of playing the over the top baroness. Um, and I loved her as a kid, as Stella. When we first meet her, she's this little precocious, mischievous kid who has a knack for getting in trouble. Or does trouble find her? She doesn't necessarily go looking for trouble.
I don't even feel like it was trouble because when you really look at the scenes of her getting stamps in her book or whatever, it was all from her like defending her best friend Anita, or from the fact that she was being bullied herself and she decided to stick up for herself rather than herself just being bullied. And I feel like they just weren't okay with that. Like they were like, oh well, if you're being bullied, like you should tell an adult. I don't always believe that that is a solution, because sometimes adults' responses to bullying situations is not the best response. So sometimes you just need to go up and punch the person in the face. I'm so sorry. That's just my feeling. That's just my
Yeah,
feeling sometimes.
and
Like sometimes that person, that bully needs to be punched in the face and put in their place until next time. Because once you say like, okay, apologize, what the fuck is that gonna do? I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Let me not get on my high horse of that nonsense.
I agree. Like I said, I wouldn't say that she went looking for trouble. It kind of just found her, especially as
Mm-hmm.
a kid, and she handled it. And is like you say, especially when she learned that the adults were not going to handle it for her, and even as she beat up the boys and got in fights, she was the only one who kept getting in trouble for it. Like they never got in trouble for um, doing what they did to her, and it was maybe because her hair was so different and her best friend was black, and so it was just like, they were the outliers in this little village town in England where they lived. So it was, of course, it was always going to be their fault. So I didn't see anything wrong with it. I didn't fault her for that at all. And her mom, you had to love her mom, because
Yeah.
her mom encouraged her to be who she was. She accepted her for who she was. Her and it was funny when her mom said, "Stay in the car." She goes, "Oh, strict voice. You really mean it? Okay." So it's like she knew, even though she did not do as she was told, she knew when her mom was being serious and when she should not push the limits. And you could tell that she really, really loved her mom. So I enjoyed it from the beginning to the end. And I hate that she thought she was responsible for her mom's death. That was sad. And
Yeah, but to find out that the Baroness and the whole whistle that only a dog can hear, um
the original dog whistle.
yeah, original dog whistle. Yeah, so when she finds that out, and um from there she just kind of goes off the deep end. She jumps off the cliff like feet first, like just jumps, just goes for it. Yeah, but yeah. When
Yeah.
she thought as a young kid, and then she ends up all the way in London. I'm just like, I love how these young kids can hitchhike their way to a major city. um no plan in sight or whatever like that. Like, I'm like, what did she think she was gonna end up doing once she got to London? Like,
Well, that was where they were headed the night that her mom died when she went to try to go shake down the Baroness. Um, but it was like, okay, and it just so happens that the truck that she ended up being concussed and knocked unconscious in when she jumped off the building was headed to London. And you see, the first place she went was the park that her and her mom said that they were going to go to and plan out their life and have tea in, which was Regent's Park. And
mm-hmm.
so that's where she meets Horace, and I want to call him Spike, but I know Jasper. I don't know why I want to call him Spike. I'm so horrible with names.
Wait, you know
Uh,
what? I could actually see him being more of a Spike than a Jasper, but go ahead.
Thank you for indulging me. Um, and I'm sorry, on a side note, is it me or did Jasper become whiter as he grew up? I'm just
Lighter?
whiter. Like, I'm like, is that the same little mixed kid we were led to believe? But never mind.
Oh, well, I mean, like, yeah, like he still looked mixed, but he did have a lighter tone of the skin. But we gotta just chalk that up to the actor that they chose.
Okay, he was still a great actor. It was just me. It was just one of those things. I'm like, oh, okay. But I loved how they became a family. They were like, they thought they went through all that trouble trying to dodge her and the cops, and they thought that they gotten rid of her, and they didn't. And she was like, and then from that moment on, when she tells them about her mom, Jasper's like, okay, she played the family card. Yep, she played the family card, and so they were just like, from that moment it was just the three of them running all their grifts. And um how he what he did for her on her birthday, getting her that job in that department store. And I was thinking she was going to be a seamstress. I had no idea when he said entry level she was going to be scrubbing toilets.
But I mean, it just fit, right?
It
Like
did,
it,
though.
it, it
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 did.
fit on when he's just like entry level, and I was just like, And then when you see her scrubbing, I was just like, oh, okay, that fits.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't. I was thinking seamstress. I knew she wasn't going to go in and be a window person. Again, this was what set in the 60s, 70s. So I knew she wasn't going to probably be a window dresser or automatically, just working front sales in the store or anything. But I was like, or I thought she might be a secretary or something like that, or assistant secretaries as they were called back then. But when you saw her scrubbing toilets, you were like, "Yep, that kind of works." That, like you said, you weren't surprised. It did just fit. And one of the funniest scenes is when she gets locked out of the store and the trash bag busts and she's walking around with that banana on her face.
Oh my God. And then when he says, you have a banana on your face, and she takes it, he's just like, no, and she
It
eats
eats
it.
it. I was
Oh
like,
my
"What
God.
the and I had a visceral react. I had the same visceral reaction he had. Like in the movie, I was just like, "Oh, that was so gross."
Oh
But
my God. Like that was disgusting. That was disgusting.
but it was so her because she was just like, "Oh, I'll show you." Like nothing bothers her. Like, she didn't want to seem perplexed by it or phased by it. She just took it casually off her face and ate it. And I'm just like, and we know, and I guess by the way he says it, he could have assumed that it came from her lunch or something, but we know it came out the trash that fell on her. So I was just like, oh, but she was very talented as a designer. So
Well, I mean, finding out who her mother was, like, at least, the Baroness was right on that. Like, she was her mother's daughter at the end.
yeah, she really was. Um But her mom wanted to be a fashion her real mom, or her I say her real mom. I'm gonna say her real mom because that's the woman who raised her, not her bio mom. But her real mom wanted to be a fashion designer too. So she had her own aspirations for that. And I
She
guess
still didn't get her talent from her.
I'm not saying she did. It could have been learned. It might have been a nature versus nurture thing. We'll see. That I guess that's up for debate. But I want to know back to her real mom. What was she thinking? That okay, this is a woman who, spoiler alert, basically did not want this kid from the very beginning. And her, when she said get rid of it, she wasn't talking about adopting it, putting her up for adoption. She basically wanted the child killed, like DOA on arrival. So did she really think that coming back to her all these years later saying, "Hey, I have your kid, give us money and we'll go away," would uh endear her? Like, you worked for this woman, you didn't know she was batshit crazy?
But I don't think it was necessarily like her just coming and saying, well, I have your kid, but more on, she needed the money to get as far away from wherever they were. And the only way she could do it was from having like a quick conversation with her. But I don't like, from what the valet said, from, what is his name, John the valet, um from what he said, I don't even think she brought up the fact that she was raising her daughter. I think that it was, she knew that she knew that she had the kid. And and what she ended up doing, she knew that she sent John to kill the kid or something like that. Like, I feel like that's where the threat came in, not necessarily like, I have your daughter, I'm raising her, you need to give me money to keep it secret. I think, like, I know what you really like did to your kid, and if you want me to keep it secret, then I need some money, rather than reveal it. Because at the end of the time, she felt that Cruella was her child, so I don't think she would necessarily want to even reveal the fact that her daughter was really hers, was really the Baroness's.
Yeah, I think you may have been right because when the Baroness is telling her about the situation, she didn't hint that she knew that Cruella, or that the child that she was raising, had been her own. Um, or anything like that. She was just like, she had a kid. She was very indifferent about the whole thing. She had a kid. She wasn't a good enough mother to stay alive for a kid, and the kid ended up an orphan and whatever. That was pretty much the depth of emotion she felt when retelling that story. So she would definitely fall on that narcissistic, sociopathic, psychopath spectrum herself. Um, the Baroness, and everybody was freaking afraid of her, and because she was crazy. But
Psycho.
she was cray cray. I gosh, I loved the dogs. I'm a dog person, so I loved Wink and I loved Buddy. But Wink was a little G, like
Yo, Wink, yeah, Wink was the G of the group, okay? Like, with his one eye, he was doing it all.
Wink could steal your wallet. Wink could get you the keys to get break you out of jail. Wink could pose as a rat. Wink could pose as a dead rat.
Whatever you needed, Wink was there for it.
Just tell Wink, and he was all about that life. He wasn't scared of those Dalmatians.
Heck no.
Yeah, so
He was all up in that.
Wink was a G. And I did like Horace and Jasper, and I loved how even though they weren't crazy about who she was becoming, especially when she decided to go to lean into becoming Cruella. Um, I think that even though they weren't crazy about the new Estella, it was their love for Estella that kept them loyal to Cruella. I think ultimately.
Well, thank
Um,
God for that because they should have left her ass. So thank goodness that they, just kept reminding themselves in order to stay, they had to remind themselves of who they were really there for because they were never there for Cruella. So they just had to continuously over and over again remind themselves that they were there for Estella rather than for Cruella, because she went all selfish on them um, for a long time. And like, I was just like, what? Like, you just gonna do a whole 180? Like, no, like, no qualities I keep? No, we just gonna give it all up? Okay, okay.
well, and she did with the name she chose. She did kind of pay homage to her mom because her mom was the name who gave her real mom was the one who gave her the alter ego or the nickname Cruella when she was just being out of pocket. So she kept that, but I think it was kind of like you have to become a monster to defeat the monster, and I think she embraced it a little too much. And then when she realized that, oh shit, that psycho bitch is my mom, like I think it may have scared a little bit of sense into her, a little bit of her humanity back. Like I don't choose to believe she lost all of Estella, but you definitely saw where Cruella did win out. Like she leaned into that full force, and it was like, oh, so you did get glimpses of how she truly becomes the monster that we see um in 101 Dalmatians. And considering that's a cartoon villain and a cartoon character over what 60 years ago, can you imagine what that would be, how that would translate into a live action, like real life 50, 60 years later, what that would be like? um
Touche.
bat like batshit crazy. So it was just like wow. But yeah, so thank God they met Estella and not Cruella first, because oof, yeah. Um, Although I did one of the things that I did love, I love the fashion from the 60s and the 70s. I love the fashion. Emma Thompson, their costume designer deserves all the things. That the fashion was on point. I loved Emma Thompson's fashion. I loved Cruella's fashion. I love like the whole punk of it, being I guess in London's West End. So I
Yeah, it
have
was very true to the decade that it was supposed to be in. Very,
yeah,
very true to it.
I have to give hats off. They were dressed to the nines, and I don't know what we want to call it, but the butterfly dress, it was gorgeous. The cocoon, the butterfly dress. I was wondering what was up with the special beads. I'm like, okay, what's up with these beads? Like, because when you saw Horace delivering them, you knew it wasn't as simple as them just being beads. Like, okay,
Yes, but ooh, when they opened up that vault and
I
you
was like,
saw what they were, and then they ate up all of her designs, like, because I was trying to think, how is she gonna get rid of these designs, or how is she gonna get to it? And I was just like, how is she gonna get to it? And then when they opened up the vault and you saw she never ever had to touch them
yeah,
because she'd already done it, done it so well when she forced her to move them to the vault. Like that was a perfection of a plan. Like just
yeah.
amazing. Like I was just like, oh my god, that's so awesome.
And like it was so genius. It's like, oh, she just needed them in there where they could incubate. Like she needed them in the right temperature. And it was just like, oh my God. But yeah, so I love the fashion. And where you said she gets the talent from her mom, that brings up the point of, so was the Baroness really talented, or did she just, because all I saw her do was steal other people's designs. Like I never really saw her design anything herself.
She had to have been talented at some point, and then her talent ran out. And talent run out, but you've made a name for yourself, so now everybody wants to work for you. Because ultimately, isn't that how fashion houses work now?
Well, you have junior assistants, you have junior designers, and you have I mean, I'm not talking about the collaboration aspect of it. I get that because all of the fashion designers started off
Putting it
working.
all under her name.
Yeah, putting
All
it up.
designers do that. Like I
Well,
think of the big fashion houses, and when they come out, it's their name that's on the line. So,
well,
unless you're really looking at it, you don't know who really designed what's being put on the runway.
but I mean, you do in a sense. I'm not talking about the collaboration. I'm not talking about, hey, this Marc Jacobs, all the designers got their start working in other houses, most of them, or working under someone. I get that, the apprenticeship of it all. But just out and out stealing the designs, that was like, uh, that was that was the shadiness of it. That was where it came in, because she was like, when she and the way she did it, she's like, when she was designing the dress in the alley, you knew Cruella knew, because she knew where all the cameras and everything was. But when she was like, oh, I have my last design, I have my signature piece, and she was like, well, who should I toast, or who should, and once she drew the dress and it was completed, she's like, who should I toast? You? Like, you didn't, she was just like taking all the credit. You didn't do any, like, you didn't have anything to do with this, it was all me, that type of thing. So, um, I was just like, oh, it just made me question, how long has she really been stealing designs, and what has she actually designed on her own? Like, is it something? And I'm sure she did have some talent, but did she rise on other? Like, how much of it was really due to her? Is, I guess, is what I'm getting at. Um, you know, but and her, the Baroness did have a point about, she did tell the truth about the woman stealing the necklace, kind of, sort of, about the necklace not belonging to her, although it did belong to her daughter. But
Yeah, because it
so both
ultimately
of them.
belonged to the father more than it belonged to her. Because you realize that she wasn't the one with the money; it was the Baron that had the money.
Who basically wasted away after he was told his daughter died.
Died.
Yeah. So both of them were telling the truth. The necklace was quote unquote stolen, but it also was Cruella's family heirloom, and it would be worth a lot. It was worth a lot to her one day. So I appreciated that. Um, and I do like on one hand, I like how she embraced who she was, Cruella. I don't like that she necessarily, when she leaned all into it, like where she just was acting completely like the Baroness, like her little junior or her carbon copy. That was crazy. But when she went and talked to her mom at Regent's Park, and she was like, I am who I am, and a lot of her behaviors started to make sense to her. And she made up with Jasper and Horace. I'm like, okay, there might be some hope. So I'm still interested to see how we get from you just being a little manipulative and eccentric to full on batshit crazy. That's just
Yeah,
me.
that's what I'm saying. Like to see like like I hope that they do other movies. So I guess that's me saying yes. I'm hoping for a sequel. Because I'd like to see how she gets to the point of becoming Cruella, like the Cruella that we know. Especially with like at the end where she's the one that gifted the first Dalmatians.
Yeah.
Um to Gerald and Anita. So the couple that's going to end up being the ones who are the owners of the 101 Dalmatians that she ultimately wants to skin alive. Just kind of seeing how she gets to that point, because I do feel that maybe it's that she's going like her psycho tendencies are going to go full force over time, and she's
Yeah.
not going to be able to stop them, and she's going to lose everybody around her until she's all by herself. And just obsessed with this. But I would love to see the storyline. Like, I would love to see the story of it, though.
Me too, because I was thinking like, okay, you see how it begins with her and the Dalmatians. I forgot their names, Genghis and the other two. Um, so you see how it begins, and of course they belong to the Baroness, and they're really protective of the Baroness, and they're basically raised to be attack dogs, killers, whatever. But then once they kidnap them, and and they train them, it's like they respond to her better than they respond to the Baroness, because when they come up to her, the Baroness is thinking, oh, they're going to attack her, and they look at her and she's just like sit, and they come and they just heal at her side.
Well,
So
she'd
it's,
had them for months by this point. So if she had
yeah.
them for months, they trained from once they found out they watched soccer. Oh, it was a wrap after that.
Yeah. So at that point, and then and even and before then, you get a hint of her saying, "Oh, wouldn't they make lovely coats?" But that was when they were still being little shits and destroying everything around them, and they weren't responding well. But after they got them trained, it was like, and even at the end, you see that she has 5 dogs, and she seems to have a good relationship with the Dalmatians. So I am really curious to see what changes in that to where they become her hated enemy. Do they kill Buddy or Wink or something? I don't know. But so it was, I enjoyed it. What did you think about John the Valet's character? He surprised me.
He's so oh my god. What is the movie with oh Lord Jesus. The movie with Colin Firth. What's that movie called? The Gentleman movie.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't think of it right now either.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I forgot.
The
But like
King's
his
Men.
character just fit that role. Like I just thought like, oh, are you just replaying your role from before?
From the Kingsmen.
The Kingsman. Um yeah, I just felt like it was a replay of his character from The Kingsman. But I mean, he plays that role very, very well because he's done it multiple times, not only in The Kingsman, but he's done it multiple times because he just has that voice, he has that demeanor that he does very well. Um, so I would say I was a little surprised on the betrayal. I thought that he was going to be the loyal one to the Baroness, and then to find out that he wasn't necessarily loyal to the Baroness, he was loyal to the Baron. And then that just kind of transferred over to his wife. But I like that ultimately he does help Cruella get her revenge on the woman who, gave her DNA.
Yeah. And the actor who plays John is Mark Strong, and he's one of my favorite
Mark
British.
Strong, yes.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite British actors. But I also was surprised, and then it kind of took me back to where he first meets her at the party, her original gala, the night that her mom dies. And when he sees her hair, he's shocked, but he's like, "Here, cover this up," you know. Um, and so it's interesting to see what he would have done if she hadn't escaped in that moment, if Buddy hadn't caused the scene and she hadn't escaped and ran off, because now we know that his goal was to kind of protect her ultimately. And you knew that he probably would not have wanted the Baroness to find her, especially since he was supposed to have killed her. So it was interesting to see that. And um, he was the one that ends up saving her from the fire. So I was surprised too. I thought he was going to be the loyal henchman all the way to the end, and but it turns out he was loyal to Cruella. Um, I did not know her last name came from the Cadillac DeVille though. That was funny to me. I was like, oh, okay. Um, so
That's a
or
nice connection, though.
yeah, and at the time it was they called it Devil, so it was like Cruella Devil, but she was like, "Huh." And then he was like, "No, it's you pronounced it Deville though." And so it was like, "Oh, okay." So technically her name is Cruella Devil who lives in hell. What is it? Hell?
Hell Hall.
Hell Hall. Yeah, I was gonna call it Hell Hill, but Hell Hall. So she took that whole punk thing all the way. I loved Artie. He was amazing.
Oh,
Um,
I loved Artie. Like, he was just like, I'm all about 1 and 2, but I'm not so sure about 3.
three.
And she was just like, but it's not your death I'm talking about. He was just like, well, when do we start? And I was just like, yes, Artie.
So yeah, I loved Artie. Even from when she walked in his store, and again, takes me back to the fashion, that her red vintage dress that Cruella and Artie just punk out. I loved it. I love fashion, and so I love the fashion in this movie. That was one of the things that got me. I was just like, ah, I wish I could have just taken a picture and put it all in a lookbook. It was amazing. So again, hats off to the costume designers. You guys did a great job. And one of the other things I also loved that I noticed about this movie was the music. I loved the music and the
Yes.
soundtrack. It was
It
amazing.
was an
And
amazing decade that they chose, I feel like, and everything connected, because that, like, the 70s, the 60s, the 70s, like, I really, really loved it. Like, yeah, I agree.
yeah, when punk was king, like when punk was the original hip hop, back when hip hop was the taboo, and it was just like yes, and you had that whole punk scene, and leading into the like, yeah, it was amazing. So I did love it, and I loved the soundtrack. I thought it was phenomenal.
You know what
Um,
I love the most? I loved Cruella's fashion as she was taking over, like she was taking the attention away from the Baroness. Like, just the amazing ideas and theatrics that came out of it was absolutely phenomenal. Like, the dress that was trash.
oh yes,
Oh my god, I was just like, who thought of that?
the
Like, I
trash
I
dress was
wish.
my favorite.
Yes, like, I was like, I wish I had that creative mind. Like, y'all, when God was giving out creativity, I was in a different line and I didn't hear my name being called. So I have no creativity whatsoever and no creative bone in my body. But I just like to talk a lot. That's why I'm on this podcast. But yes, like, I was just like, whoever like came up with those designs, um that is just an amazing creative mind. Like, I was definitely entertained by, okay, so what is she wearing next time that she takes the attention away from the Baroness? Like, it was amazing. Like, I feel like those were my like favorite scenes, on seeing how she was gonna upstage the Baroness next.
Yeah, it was. I I wanted to steal the clothes. I really did. I was like, and that I love reading scripts from the movies. So I love reading screenplays and all that. So this would be one I would be interested to see just how they did and how they pulled off certain things. But the one again, going back to it, I would also love to see the drawings for the fashion that they came up with. I would just yeah. Um, what did you think ultimately about the final takedown?
I liked it. You're talking about when she kind of sets her up
Yeah, when she takes down the Baroness.
and gets everybody outside. Like, I think that it was perfect because she couldn't spin it. There was no way for her to spin it. But I also like the fact that she trained the dogs ahead of time, because she knew that she was going to try to use the dogs against her. So I love that. I love the fact that they like made all of those outfits and sent them to every single guest of this ball that she was having. Just the whole idea of it all, it just came together perfectly. And Yeah, I really like I just love the whole strategy that came about throughout the whole entire movie on how she gets back at the Baroness.
Yeah. And the Baroness's face when she sees all of those Cruellas in her party, it was like, and just the amount of restraint it took for her not to go batshit crazy, because you could tell she wanted to go off, and
She
she was just,
wanted to go ham.
it was just like, you, you didn't know she wanted to kill him, kick him out, do both. It was just like, what in the fuck? And then everybody was just waiting for a response, and she's just like, damn it. But yeah, I was, I liked the final takedown too. Again, I guess that's the theme of the day. It was kind of a little bit Ocean's 11, just how they pulled off the caper. But she planned it out. She showed that she really was her mom's daughter, and she had that gene. She put her smarts to use, and all the things she learned about being on a grift with Spike and, there I go, with Jesper and Horace. Um, Although I'm sure she taught them, I'm sure as they were growing up, she taught them a thing or two, as well, about how to be better grifters and, all of that kind of stuff. But and I loved it when she apologized and she told them, "Hey, you're family," and she didn't immediately, like I say, revert back into the old, just selfish, evil mini clone of the Baroness that she was becoming. And so when John came home, she was like, "John, I want to introduce you to my family." And I was just like, "Oh." But like I said, like we've both alluded to, we know it's coming. I just want to see how it's coming, what's going to happen with that. Um, so any other thoughts you have before we get to the
It was a
announcement?
really good movie, and I would suggest that everybody goes to see it, especially if you are a fan of Disney live action movies. It's really, really good. Like sometimes you have bad live action Mulan, and then other times you have they're never gonna live down the Mulan trash that we watched. And then sometimes you have really, really good live action movies that come from Disney. And I have to say that the prequel of Cruella's story was definitely a great Disney movie to watch. Like it
It
really was.
it was, and I hate so much that Mulan, and we talked about it, but I'm just gonna say it again. I hate so much that Mulan was the one that had to be garbage. I really do.
Yes,
Um,
I agree. Because then does that mean that they're less likely to want to adapt the other ones with
Characters of
princesses of
color.
color?
I hope not, but
You
I
know,
hate that. I hate that that was the one that they fucked up. Um, So I also agree, and we know how we feel about paying for these movies on Disney now. That extra $30, they're not getting it, especially now that the movies are open. And I highly recommend that you guys go, if you have not been, go to the movies. They're clean. I've never seen the movie theater that clean ever. It even looks like they had steamed the seats. Like it looks like that they took time to reupholster the seats or do something. But I was surprised, and pleasantly so, just how clean and how safe it was. So,
Eddie
please.
went to one of the uppity theaters, y'all. I did not have that privilege, so like I'm not saying that my theater wasn't clean. I will say that like my one thing is that I would also say that um go back to the theater, but I wouldn't say go back at the popular times that they do have because more people are going back to the theater now. But what I would say is that I went like the first showing because in order to get people back, they're giving discounts. So of course I took advantage of the discount. And so I went at their first showing for Cruella on Memorial Day weekend, I think. Yeah. And there was like three families and we were all like extremely like separated. Like it was in a huge theater, of course, but there like everybody was all over the place in the theater. So I think people who are choosing to go to the theater are also picking seats that are away from people.
Yeah.
um so it was good. Like I did not feel like unsafe in the theater. Like I felt good. I kept my mask on the whole time. Like I still wore a mask. And then the people that I did see were also wearing masks in the theater, so unless they were eating. So I think that, yeah, I wouldn't say you can't go to the theater. Like, go as
Yeah.
long as you're vaccinated. Go when you're vaccinated. Don't go unvaccinated. Sorry.
Yeah. This isn't this time last year when they were talking about opening it up in the height of Rona. So I do feel much more comfortable. And again, I got my snacks. So while I was eating my snacks, obviously the mask was off. But once I finished, I put it back on. I even went to the bathroom, and the theater bathrooms are usually sketchy, but it was surprisingly clean as well. So that was a good thing. And also, they block off the seats for your party. So it was just me. So the seats on either side of me was blocked off, which I love, obviously. Uh, yeah, just take the chance and go back. Don't spend that $30 on the movie and watch it at home, unless you have a whole family, and then it would probably be cheaper to do that. But hey, so what would you rate the movie?
I would give Cruella a 3.75. Um, I really, really enjoyed Cruella from beginning to end. Um, I thought it definitely exceeded my expectations. The acting was really good. Emma Stone, Emma Thompson were phenomenal as the stars of the movie. They did a great job. The sub characters were also really, really good. So yeah, 3.75, because I really enjoyed it. And especially, like, I'm gonna add a little bit just because it's the movie that got me back to the theater, and I did not have a bad experience as well.
I agree. 3.75, same reasons. Great acting. Um, and I would probably give it a little bit more, maybe almost a 4, just because it was the movie that got me back to the theater. Was not a bad experience. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, most people were still masked, adhering to social distancing guidelines. The theaters were clean. I everything that Tammy said about the movie, because I agree. It was the casting, the characters, the fashion, everything about the movie, the time frame, it was on point. So if you want to go see a great live action, if you want us and slowly start integrating back into society and going back to the movies, this is a great time to start. So um, again, it's a 3.75, and I for an average of 3.75, you made it easy. Made it so easy on me
Yes,
this
I
time.
did.
I didn't even have to pull out the calculator for that one.
Oh, that's good.
All right. Because I know math. I'm smart like that.
Unfortunately, I was never good. No, let me not lie. I was extremely good in math when I was in school because I had to be. But math is not my strong subject now.
So that does it for this episode of Extra Butter, aka the bonus episode. Um, but I say that because Tammy gets mad when I call it extra butter. We're smooth, right? Hey, can that be our theme song?
Fuck no.
Like a criminal undercover.
Oh my gosh. Y'all, that is just a preview of we are going to be soon enough doing an episode on our amazing, amazing K-pop comebacks. So Eddie's just giving you a preview of what to look forward to.
Smooth, straight, stunner. I owe it all to my mother. Okay, let me stop. So I am going to go convince Tammy to let Butter be the extra butter theme song. Because once you hear it, it's just always in your head, and it works so well. Gosh, it's a sign BTS loves us. Anyway, until next time, thank you for joining us, and be sure to check us out daily at thepopcornwindown.com. Check out the Daily Wind Down for the latest in entertainment and pop culture news. That's it. That's the plug. Pop, pop, pop. And be sure to catch up on the Popcast, the original OG episodes of the Popcast, or the Wind Down Rewind, or, of course, extra smooth like butter. Criminal under. No, I'm sorry. Until next time, I'm Eddie.
And I am Tammy. I am so sorry, y'all. Have a great day. Bye.